Okay, let's go. Siman Yud, Hilchos Tzitzis. Oh, Hilchos Tzitzis. Says the halacha aleph. Siman Yud halacha aleph. Tallis she'ein lo arba kanfes. What if you got a tallis which does not have four corners? Torah. Then it's part of tzitzis. We know that the halacha is that the tzitzis you only chayav if the beged has four corners. If it hasn't got four corners, you're potter. If it has more than four corners, imagine a material, a clothing which has more than four corners, then you're chayav. So then, amazing, if you put on you've got a beged which has got 5 or 6 or 7 corners, we'll see in the Shabura, then you need to chayav in tzitzis. So in other words, you can't be less than 4. If it's 3, then you're not chayav in tzitzis. If it's 4, we all wear 4-cornered garments. But actually, the halacha is that if it's 5 or 6 or 7, then you're chayav in tzitzis. It's a minimum of 4. Where do you put the tzitzis? Says the Mechaber, meruchakas on the corners, which are meruchakas zumi on the furthest corners. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Aleph, Sif Cotton Aleph, she'ein lo. Bein betchilas asiyosai ubein shechotach achakach knaf echad v'soi ogel. Whether it was made like that, or later you cut it and it had 4 corners, then you're chayav in tzitzis. But if it's less than that, then it's p'tura mavur b'kra d'chsiv al arba kanfos ksusoscha on the 4-cornered garment. The darshin b'sifri arba v'lo shalosh has got to be 4 corners and not 3. The yoyse arba marbi. How do you know that if it's got more than 4 corners, you're also chayav in tzitzis? Because it says asher tchase that you should cover it. So what about maybe it's the opposite? Maybe the ribu is to include if it's 3, and the exclusion is to exclude if it's more. So the Gemara says no. Included in 5 is 4. So if you've got a corner of 5, or you've got a beged of 5 or 6 or 7 sides, so you've got 4 within it. But in the case where you've only got 3, you haven't got 4 in that, and therefore it's dafka that way around. So you see that a beged which has 3 corners, there is no chiyuv of tzitzis, but if it has 4 or more, then it is chayav. The lav dafka ba'alas chomish, lav dafka 5. When the Mechaber says 5, it's lav dafka v'hu adin ba'alas sheish v'sheva. If it's got 6 or 7 sides, that would also require tzitzis. Chayeves v'yesh potrin, and there are those who say that it is exempt. Lochein ein lasus bas chomish lechatchila, and therefore you shouldn't lechatchila make a beged with 5 sides, and that's what we all do. All our tzitzis and the tallis that we wear, of course, have 4 sides. If you take a look at Dirshu number 2, Hainu, you shouldn't make it lechatchila 1 of 5. Hainu, kadei lekayim mitzvah tzitzis lechol ha'deretz. In other words, to fulfill all opinions, we have 4-cornered garments. Ulam, the Indian bracha. Do you make a bracha if you've got a beged with 5 or 6 or 7 corners? So he says, interestingly, Ulam, the Indian bracha, mashma lahalon, sheyochel levarich aleha. You can make a bracha on a beged which has 5 or more sides to it. To wear it, in other words, to wear a 5-cornered garment, there's no problem. Don't think to yourself, hey, maybe there's a problem of I'm wearing a beged which is not mechuyv, which is because he'll say because according to those who say that you are chayav to wear tzitzis on a beged which has got 5 or more begodim, so you put tzitzis on it. But the das hapaturim ein chayav is bechal tzitzis. It's not chayav in tzitzis at all. So therefore, there's no problem. So therefore, even lechatchila, you can wear such a thing, and you don't have to. What?
On Shabbos?
Yeah, because it's got a din beged.
And say we're walking in the street carrying them to it's not 5.
Yeah, because it's got a din beged. So once it's got a din beged, and therefore there'll be no problem. Okay, let's carry on the Mishnah Berurah.
How are you able to make a bracha on it?
Because so he says that because according to the opinion which says you are. I see because you're saying why according to the shita that says you're potter on a beged which has more, then why should you be able to do it? It seems that this is the mainstream view. We'll have to wait till we get there. This is in Sif Cotton Hay. Okay, we'll have to wait till let's have a look in Sif Cotton Hay. Okay, we'll see. But it could be that this is just the mainstream view, and therefore we will make a bracha on it. I'm not sure. Okay, there's a back to Sif Cotton Gimel. Chayeves. V'yesh poitrin ve'ein lasus bo chamish chatin. And therefore, you don't make 5 lechat chila. Because of our prima godim, the ladas ha-poitrin, oisen talitis ktanim shelonu. The little talis in the talis tzitzis, we call it. Sheyesh beis hatzava, which has got an opening at the neck. Mikol makom roiv sosum. The majority of it is sosum, is closed up. Or miu meira sheroiv pasuch. If it happens to be totally, roiv is open. Yaseh. So he says bakelnas. That's the addition. In the bottom in the translation, it's got savorin. You've got some sort of neck opening around it. That the tailors will make it a little bit round. But if you made it with 5 sides, then over Mishram Balta with 4 with if you made Mosa Chomish, then it's a problem of Baltaisif. So again, this is going on. Dalad. Arba sitzias. So you put, if you've got a beggar, let's say 5 or 6 or more corners, you put 4 sitzis on it. But if you were to put 5 sitzis on 5 of the corners or whatever, then says Mishnah Berurah, there's a problem with Baltaisif. If you cut off one of them, then kashera. So long as the 4 sitzis on this 5-cornered beged are on the furthest corners, which are further away from each other. You've got to try and make it, that it's clearly visible that they're on the furthest corners of these beged. Some say that that's minat Torah. To be machmeh, that if you've already put the sitzis on a nearer corner, then it's not possible to fix it. You've got a tallis with 5 corners, and you put the 4 sitzis on the nearest corners and on the furthest corners. If you're going to miss tefillah, you can be somech on the makilin and make a bracha on it. Okay, base. Yesh lo arba. What about the following situation? You've got a tallis, or you've got a sitzis, and it's got 4 corners. V'chotach echod ba'alachsein. You then make a cut on the corner. Va'asor shnaim, and now you've got 2 more sides. Ha'inasis balas chomesh. You now got a beged with 5. Chayeves, and it's chayv sitzis. Says Rashi, echod ba'alachsein. Hu adinim chotach shtei knofas ba'alachsein. So too, if you cut 2 corners in the corner, nasis balas sheish, and then it would you've got a 6-cornered garment. Also, it would be chayv and sitzis. Balas chomesh says Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Zayin v'chein im hoyelot tchilas sholish. So too, if you have 3 corners, v'chotaf knaf achas l'shnayim, and you then cut one of those that 3rd corner to make 2. So now you're okay. Nasis balas arba v'chayeves b'tzitzis. You've now got a 4-cornered garment, and then that is chayv and tzitzis. It's got to be a significant cut that is very clear and recognizable that it's now a 4-cornered garment. But I'm a prima godim. You've got to cut away some of the beged. Not that it's just looking like 2 corners, that is so you can sort of put them together and it looks like 1. It's got to be a significant cut. If you just make a little snip and it's just like divided into 2, it's got to be properly open in a proper 4-cornered garment. Okay, Gimel, halacha Gimel. Kafel karnis taliso kshormim tafrom. Imagine you've got a tallis and you turn over the corner and then you stitch it up. Has that made the ice tallis? Has that made it no good now that you've got a 3-cornered beged? Kafel karnis taliso kshormim tafrom. You tie it or you stitch it. The doimekilu kitzon ve'eno knofes. Afal pikein. It's still not exempt from sitzis. Says the Mishnah Berurah, because if you don't need the corners, then just you just cut it away and throw it away. The very fact that you stitched it suggests that you're going to just unfold it and it's back to its normal state. Ella, clearly you're going to undo the stitching. It's as if you haven't got the stitching there, and it's still a 4-cornered garment. You are allowed, therefore, to put the sitzis treated like a 4-cornered garment, and therefore you're allowed to put the sitzis there in the corner. even below the agul. We'll come to these halachas later. It's got to be a thumb's breadth away from the corner of the beged. You can even put it below that. So long as when you unfold it, the tzitzis are going to be above the corner. You can't put the tzitzis on the very bottom of the beged, right? So here you folded it up, and it's okay to put it on the corner around at the bottom. Why? Because you're treating this beged as if it's fully unfolded. So therefore it'd be okay. That's if it's stitched in like a circular fashion. But if it's in a square shape, that now, right now, it's got a knaf. Das hal corner. Das hal bush. I'm going to shy la hatzol sham hatzitzis. Be careful. They say that you're actually allowed to put the tzitzis in the corner there. Even though it's more than 3 at spoils away from the corner, which ordinarily is not allowed. Kim the tefira shari, because that tefira is considered okay. Ukamai besipov. The kafel Tallis man tefira. The Rabbim cholkum azeh. Many argue with this lebush. They say that tefira does not help here. They folded up the whole edge like a proper hem, and that's the derech of a malbush. Here it's different because you're only tying over a corner of a beggar, so it's not as significant, not as substantial. Halacha dalet, sif dalet. Says the Mechaber, Tallis shel beged uknofeh shelo. What if you've got a material, a tallis made out of beged, let's say of wool or like our normal tallis, uknofeh shelo, but the corners are made out of chayeves. Says the Mechaber, it's chayev and tzitzis. What about the other way around? He shel uknofeh shel beged. The actual body of the material is made out of and the corners are made out of regular material. Then petura. How come? Says the Mishnah Berurah. Shel beged. The pasuk says you've got to cover yourself with it. And therefore, you can only use a beged, which is the normal material, the wool. Then, if the main material is wool, the main tallis is made out of wool, and just the corners are, then that's not a problem, and we go after the majority. The majority is okay, and therefore it's chayav and tzitzis. Continues the Mishnah Berurah. Even if the majority of the beged is circular, but you've squared it up by putting the corners made out of leather, still chayav, because the bossa ikka beged azlin, and the bossa and the ikka is proper material. Sif continued. So long as the roiv is beged, is good material, and if other stuff is non-talisable material, even if it's not in the corners, you're still chayav in tzitzis. What about the other way around? If it's primarily, but the knofeha are shel beged, says the Mishnah Berurah in Sifkot Mudalef, u'adinim rak roiv hatalis shel earth. The majority of the talis is made out of leather. Afal gav shegam b'miyot habeged yesh b'shir talis. Potem is tzitzis. The kiven sheikah malbush eina ela shel beged lo krin be'al kanfei bigdeihem. V'ar potza afilim draban. And leather, this sort of skin material is potza afilim drabanan. The eina klal b'chlal beged. It's not considered a beged at all. V'chein atzim b'talis b'chetachtof tofu bar. So too, you can have a talis which you've got sort of skin underneath it, also chayeves, because you always go after the top. That's the ikka. What about all the way around? If the top is shelar, it's good. Let's just do one halacha. Halacha hey sif hey. So if you've got 3 corners in your beged, but also by him shalish tzitzis, interesting halacha, and then you've got 3 tzitzis. V'shuv also lo knaf, and you go to the tailor, and he squares it up for you and makes a 4th corner. V'also by tzitzis, and then you take on the tzitzis. What do you reckon? It works or doesn't work? Yes. Good. Why? Ksula. Mishum ta'aseh v'lo mina osri. It's ta'aseh v'lo mina osri. You've got to have a 4-cornered garment, and then on that 4-cornered garment, you put on the tzitzis. But if you've got a beged of 3 corners and with 3 tzitzis on it, and then you change the beged and put on the 4th corner, that's not ta'aseh v'lo mina osri. You've got to actually put on a completed beged. It says in Mishnah Berurah, shalosh knafos, afilu in mitchila hoylo arba knafos in tzitzis. Even if you've got 4 corners with tzitzis, v'achar kach nechtaf knaf echad. You had an accident or whatever, and something cut away a corner and it's sort of rounded it into an agol, and therefore it's not chayav. Even if you fix the corner again, repair it, those 3 corners are now bottled. So what have you got to do? You've got to undo the tzitzis and you've got to retie them. Sholish tzitzis. Lav dafka she'also gimel tzitzis nasu harei b'pisol. V'hainu kodim shnasis bas arba. Ela afilu lekosha ela kesha echod im chulios v'aka chishtim arba knafes gam nami posel is hakesha v'tzorech latir lachzak lekosha. Lav dafka 3. Even if you got one corner which had tzitzis on it, you've got to undo that one and put that back on. Mishum taase rotzolei nadichsiv gedilim taase lecho al arba kanveris mashma sheyu aknofes lasuyus arba kodim shnas tzitzis. You've got to have 4 cornered garments and then you put the tzitzis on top of it. Not that you can do the tzitzis and then create the corners. Okay, and again, you've got to undo them and reapply them once you've got a 4-cornered garment. But Dafka Sholish Tzitzis Visholim Shatsios no Apostle, Dafka when the first 3 were done, but Tzitzis should also Knaf Haravias. But if you've got a 3-cornered baguette and you've got 3 sits on it and you make it into a 4th baguette and you put the 4th corner on, that one's okay. Because you put scissors on the 4-cornered baguette. It's the first 3 you've got to take off and re-tie those. Right? So in other words, you had a 3-cornered baguette. You've got 3 sits on those. No good. So you then change the baguette, make a 4-cornered baguette. You put the 4th sits on the 4th corner. So that one's okay because you've put tzitzis on the 4-cornered baguette. It's the first 3 which are problematic, which you've got to undo those and then reapply them. Okay, Seder will start on Monday.